is building out the back. This is going to specifically kind of look at goal kicks, but could also be used for a keeper save or even just a ball in transition here. So we are looking at your recommended 3-2-3 formation. We have our right back, left back, center back. We have two center mids. We have a right forward, left forward, and our center forward up top. Goalkeeper is the number one on the ball, set up for a goal kick. And if you notice, I did place the ball in the center of the 6-yard box here. I like to do this just to create options. It allows us to stretch the entire field. If we were to just place it on one of the corners, then we kind of naturally make the field more compact for one side or the other. So we have to remember too that as we transitioned up now from U10 to U12, we no longer have the build out line here. So this is where we're having a little bit of issue. Without the build out line, our defenders can now position themselves on the 18 here before that kick, and as soon as that kick is taken, they're allowed to step in. So our placement of our players here in our starting structure and the decisions we make are going to be vitally important to prevent that pressure from capitalizing for the other team. So one of the suggestions I have, and we'll look at really two options here, but let's bring our right and left back deep and wide. And of course, we want to do that so that we have created separation as much as possible, and we've stretched the field in width as much as possible. We obviously want to avoid this center area. Most of our U12 players are not going to have the skill level to lift a ball up over the head of the line, our first line here, and to safely get the ball on target. And then, of course, that player also has to be able to receive the ball under control and play it as well. It's a difficult task for this age group. And that's not to say that's a bad strategy to attempt that. But if we are not reliable with it, then let's look at doing something that we can be more consistent with and that meets kind of the skill level of our players here. So we've dropped our two back defenders. We've dropped our center defender here at the top of the 18 as well, and really the rest of our structure remains the same, and we're just kind of spread wide, hopefully to take the defenders with us and create a little bit more space. So I'm just going to pick a side. We're going to play out to the right side here and let our right back receive this ball. Now, of course, as soon as that ball is played, we're going to have defenders shift toward those directions. But immediately, we're going to have a few options to try to get up and out of our danger area here. Now, if 11 does not pressure us quickly, then I would suggest number 2, taking some space before they play this ball. But knowing the speed and pressure of a lot of the players that you're going to have, they are going to quickly pressure you there. Now, we'll say this: if this is a tall task to play a good pass out wide here and make a pass quickly enough before this pressure closes down on you, feel free to move your right back to the 18 or even inside the 18. If you play the ball to the player inside the 18, there is at least a little bit of separation of space from the box itself during that kick. And the build-up procedure is still the same. You're just further back when it starts. So once this ball has been played over, we have a couple initial options here. Playing out wide to our right forward. Notice that right forward has checked in. We don't want to leave them too high here. We want to run away from that defender, creating space, and play out to this line here. We also have possibly the option to our midfielder and maybe even into space for our center forward. As we choose what to do, of course, we will have shifting and we will have other options available here. Notice we do want to all move with the attack. This is a build out, so this is not play up the field as quickly as possible. We want to make sure that we have supporting personnel to advance up the field. Depending on how the defense reacts to this, this could be quickly and used kind of as a counter attack. So once that ball is played up to our forward, we have a few options here. We can dribble down line. We have a ball to, of course, our center forward, and we have a more supporting ball to our center midfielder. If all else fails, and number 11 has maybe retreated in defense here, we could drop that ball to recycle to the number 2, and then essentially you kind of start over. Number 2 may choose to kind of return to either the 8 or 7 and start an attack, or potentially even swing that ball from one side to the other as we switch fields. If you haven't worked on switches yet, I highly encourage that particular tactic. It's a great way to move the defense as you switch the ball from one side of the field to the other. So here, of course, we have those options, but one option could also be to make a run off of that. So possibly our center forward makes a run into space, and as that happens, then we could play that ball up to the center forward, which also can now leave an opening for our other attacking center mid to push into space, and then the number 8 as well. We want to keep in mind that as we're doing this, the entire line pushes forward. You can already see number 3 and 4 and the defense pushing forward on the attack. 2 is offering some depth for a drop pass, but they would too soon follow. And depending on how much strategy you have worked into your build up, if your number 7 is more to the inside, now your number 2 can even overlap to the outside and create an option overloading the defense then. So let me give you another option really quick here. We'll reset, and if you notice, I have one slight change. We are now bringing our center back to receive this pass. So this may be an option for you if we're having trouble making the longer pass, or if they're closing that up too quickly. In fact, I do something very similar to this with my 11v11 high school group. I'll drop both my center backs into positions just outside the 6-yard box, and then I'll have my 2 and 3 out wide further up the field here. There is no shame in playing a pass short, even though you may watch professional ball send that to midfield. If you don't have the capability of making the pass or receiving the pass, why would you give it to your opponent? So here, of course, we can just play wide to the number 4, and in doing so, we can immediately have some options. Again, if they're not pressuring you, and likely the 9 will pressure, and possibly even the 11. And if they both pressure, then of course that's going to leave an opening or 2 for you. You can immediately play to the 2 and up the field, or hit that 7 and then have 2 coming up for support. The options are endless, but those are 2 patterns that you may find useful to kind of get you started. And again, consider doing this on goalkeeper saves as well. Instead of starting this deep, it may be further up the field as your keeper makes a save and possibly walks out to the top here. Have your players immediately open up wide into this same position and have them roll the ball to the number 2 or the 3. Again, we like to avoid punting, even though it is legal in this age division, simply for the fact that you can't head the ball, and most of our players are not going to have the skill to receive an aerial ball cleanly and then play off of that. So a nice rollout to the feet of a player is essentially the best option when leading a build out from the goalkeeper then. If you are further up the field, that rollout could happen to the number 7 or 11 and spring your attack a little bit more quickly. Again, don't forget to push your players up the field. You don't have as many lines to kind of help judge that depth, but work on keeping a separation between your forwards, your midfielders, and your defenders. And as we are attacking on the far side of the field, let your defenders push forward across midfield, and that way they can be there to receive a pass that gets recycled back through, and of course can prevent a counterattack from quickly happening from the other team. Thanks, coaches. If you have questions, just let me know.